There's a new feature in Microsoft Foundry I'm quite excited about, and it's called hosted agents. It makes it possible for you to deploy your LangGraph agents on there. This way you get the whole observability, but you can also integrate your agents very easily with Microsoft 365 Copilot, Teams, and other channels. So let's see how it works. Okay, let me show you first how hosted agents work. What can you achieve with hosted agents? After registering my hosted agents, both of which are based on LangGraph, I have integrated them very easily with Microsoft 365. So here you see my stock agent and my travel agent. That's the travel agent, which pretends to be a customer service agent. So I give it my passenger number, it gives me my flights. I can also use it to cancel my flights or to book some hotels and do similar tasks, right? And here I have my stock agent, which can be used in order to get stock information and to prepare analysis. So I have some information about the Microsoft stock I asked about here. I can also ask it general questions about some stock market indicators like PE, right? Both of the agents have been built in a very similar way using LangGraph. So it's one central agent, the orchestrator, and then there are several sub-agents with access to quite a few tools. Like, for example, this agent, or sub-agents more precisely, have access to Yahoo Finance and also to information from the internet. Okay. Before we go any further, let me also show you exactly the same agents, but integrated with Teams. It's a very similar process to integrating them with Microsoft 365 Copilot, and they behave exactly the same. Let us now take a look at what it looks like in Microsoft Foundry. You see your hosted agents here under Operate and then Assets. You see that I have quite a few, and they all have a certain status. Just a few of them are actually switched on, so they are running. Let us take this one, which is my stock market agent. The cool thing about having your agents registered here is that you get access to a variety of governance tools. You can control your agents better by registering them here in Microsoft Foundry. Look, here you see the evaluation results from this agent, right? And let me click on Monitor now, and now on Settings. And you see that you can set up continuous evaluation easily here. Selected a few different evaluators, which I deemed most relevant for this specific agent, but you can select others too. There is a large selection of them. They are related to the quality of agent's response, like coherence evaluator, fluency evaluator, routedness, whether the response was really based on the input, on the text received. Or you can use some security evaluators, like indirect attack evaluator. There are also quite a bit of evaluators here which are specific for how agents work, like intent resolution evaluator. So whether the model correctly interprets and resolves user intents. And of course, content filter evaluators, so those related to some content that you may not want in the responses of your agent. You select a model that you want to use to conduct evaluations and the rate, so how many evaluation runs should there be, right? This is a very interesting option, red teaming. By selecting this, you are creating an agent that will test whether your agent is secure enough. So the red team will attempt at making a jailbreak attack or similar attack at your agent and check what the result is. So for how many cases has the attacks been successful? And of course, you can also have alerts for the case that the evaluation turns negative. After you schedule that, your evaluations appear here. So, for example, for these evaluators, my agents delivered the following results. You see that they are quite good, but also there haven't been that many tests conducted yet. Okay, so now let us take a look at the process. So how to implement such an agent. Okay, welcome to my Visual Studio Code. Let me just tell you a few words about the implementation process. I won't go into details, but just look. Here we are actually using LangGraph, and we are also importing to this main file, defining the agents or the agentic workflow, the tools that we've implemented that we want to add to our agents. They are here. Afterwards, we define what LAM we want to use, how we want to authenticate, of course, and we also define the state. That's actually quite important. Normally, if we are creating especially chatbots, voice bots, we want to have a multi-turn conversation, which means that we need to keep the context. And some of you may remember that there were threads in the previous version of the Foundry, in Azure Foundry. The purpose of threads was to keep the context, to store the information about the multiple turns in the conversation. Currently, there is no comparable thing for the hosted agents. So you have to store the context yourself, and you do it by using the state. The good news is that LangGraph is great when it comes to managing the state. It gives you instruments for that. Afterwards, you create your agents and you assign them specific tools. You create them by defining the role. You can also mention the tools that they have at their disposal so that they know which tool to use when. Let us take a look at a graph that presents the relationship between different agents. So here we have the start and we have the orchestrator and we have various analysts, various sub-agents. We have our nodes and edges. If you see a dotted line, it means a conditional edge. You see that this isn't super complex. Actually, the other app that I showed you is much more complex. And again, the good thing about LangGraph is that it makes it possible for you to create quite complex processes, and there is still some order in them. You can still control them. Okay, now let's assume that you've created your agent here, and you came to the conclusion it's great, you tested it locally. How to deploy it on Azure? How to make it available in Foundry as a hosted agent? There are several steps to that. The first one is to create a Docker image. You create a Docker image and you also implement an Azure container registry. You deploy the Docker image to your container registry. And then you register your hosted agent, here in my case. So you have to define the image that your hosted agent should be using and also some additional data, like, for example, here you have the name of the agent, also the version is there. Remember about securing the respective accesses, because otherwise it won't work, of course, for security reasons. After you've registered your hosted agent, it will start appearing here. However, in order to use it, you also need to start it. So you go into your agent. This one is running, but if it wasn't, you will see a start button here. That's basically it. It's so easy to create a hosted agent in Microsoft Foundry. Yeah, if you ask me if I like the feature, I would tell you I absolutely do. However, just a few remarks that you might be interested in. Currently, the feature is just available in North Central US, so it's a preview feature. It's not available outside of this region. Also, while working on this project, I witnessed a few glitches. For example, sometimes you have to register your agent twice because something went wrong the first time, as it happens with preview features.